Today we are going to solve our check engine light on our 05 Jeep Wrangler. This light has been on since I purchased this Jeep, and we know it's been something in the Evap leak, or it's been an Evap leak, so something with the Evap system. And was troubleshooting that the other day, and this is kind of how we came to figure out what we have. So I'll start with showing some of the codes we have. Let's see if this screen will pick up here. So we've got a O2 sensor. This is just for a CAD efficiency on a warm-up cycle. This is not going to be solved by what we're doing. But the next one, we have a Evap system for the fuel cap being loose, a small Evap leak, another loose, and another small Evap leak with a Evap system failure. And this last one was again related to that O2 sensor on the cat. So what we found on the Evap leak, I'm going to pan around and see if we can do this. So if you are looking straight back, you can actually see where my finger is. This is after I've already done the repair, but there is a vent line on the fuel tank itself, and that vent line was cracked, which is going to your charcoal canister, as well as, if I remember correctly while I had it all apart, it is going towards the fill neck as like an overflow type valve, or pressurizing by the fill neck. So that is what I found was leaking, and ended up being that whole I guess nipple on the fuel tank was cracked, so nothing was really connected there. So that's what was triggering our Evap leak. So now if you want to follow along, I'll show you how to get to this point and fix it. Alright, you're going to start by removing your fuel tank and your skid plate. If you've got an aftermarket skid plate or a stock one, they pretty much all mount the same way. You've got four studs that are going to have nuts on the back side, and then on the front side you've got two more kind of sitting here, and then one off by the exhaust. Before you start taking these nuts down, remember to support that gas tank. Before dropping the skid plate down, you're going to want to take your filler neck off. That is easily done with a T25 Torx bit, and then you've got 4 screws holding that on. Now it's time to go ahead and drop the gas tank down. So do that slowly. We've still got wiring connections at the top. You've got your 3/8 fuel line, so we're just going to pop in our little specialty tool. So that specialty tool is just one of these guys, and it just slides over the line, slides in, and allows you to disconnect that fuel line. So we've got our electric disconnected, our fuel line, and now we can just slide this out so we can access everything. Just so you can see, this is your fuel pump. That's going to be your electrical connector. That's your fuel line. We just disconnected it from a hard line. And as I go over here, this is our piece that is broken. The root cause of that Evap leak is because this fitting for that purge solenoid is broken off. So somewhere here, it's usually supposed to fit up like this, and she's completely gone. So what my plan is we're going to use some 2-part epoxy in this area to seal everything up, and we're probably going to use a bolt or something similar just to keep everything together as we wait for that to cure. So I'm going to find something that fits. This is a 10mm bolt. but find something that fits in there pretty well. It doesn't add too much weight. We're going to scuff up the sides just so that epoxy will stick, and then see how it works. So I picked up a little nylon sleeve down at Home Depot, and I'm just going to machine that down so I can fit that inside of our plastic port. So that'll actually slide in here, and then it'll slide in the fuel tank side, and then I'll have something firm in there to help epoxy. I think that's going to help a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just chalk this up in the lathe and take a little bit out, that way it'll fit inside. Alright, so we went ahead and machined down that little piece of plastic sleeve. You don't have to use a lathe. I mean, you could even use a belt sander if you wanted to, and I don't think you need to have this in there. I just wanted to add it in for some extra support. While I had it in the lathe, it was actually getting kind of warm, so I stuck it in the factory piece, and it's actually stuck pretty well in there just from getting a little melted. So instead of pulling that out to show you guys, I'm going to leave it in. We're going to apply some epoxy around here, and then we're going to stick it in the fuel tank and some more epoxy around there. What I've got is just the JB Weld brand 1 minute set. I just wanted this to set real quick. That way I can get a layer on there, and if I need to, I can do multiple layers of epoxy just to help make sure everything's thick and solid. So we're going to open that up, mix it up, and then start putting some epoxy on. Alright, so we've got the first layer of epoxy on there. It was fairly runny, so we're going to add a couple more layers on, just kind of let them cure in between. And mixed up even less this time, just because everything was automatically running down to the bottom. That's where you saw me kind of push everything back up. Alright, I just grabbed some other adhesive. This is just like a metal infused 2-part epoxy. Just trying to see if this may add a little bit of extra strength. It's not as runny. Alright, once all the epoxy is set, it's time to go ahead and get the fuel tank back in. So doing the exact opposite. Reconnect your electrical connector, gonna get your Evap solenoid connected, fuel line, and then get your filler neck. Alright, now we're back at the Jeep, and we are going to go ahead and clear all of these codes out. So what I'm going to do is just erase all my codes here. That's going through. It's just recycling, making sure that everything is cleared out. So right now I am free of any codes. So now I'm going to go ahead and start the Jeep up and see if that'll purge out that Evap system. So looking at our dash, we are now free of check engine lights. That is my fuel light on, just because I wanted to have as empty of a tank as possible. But we'll drive it a few cycles, make sure that fixes it. But as far as I can tell, I've got no more leaks in the evap system, so we should be all good to go. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe. That way you can see all of the new content for the builds of all the Jeeps and vehicles I have.